Alexander the Great, also known as Alexander III of Macedonia, is a figure of epic proportions, a legend inscribed in the annals of history. Born in 356 BC, this young king of Macedonia would become one of the most impressive conquerors the world has ever seen. His birth marked the beginning of an era. His death, the end of one. Son of Philip II, Alexander ascended to the throne in the prime of his youth, barely at the age of 20, when the shadow of death fell upon his father in 336 BC. With the crown and the mantle of leadership now on his shoulders, Alexander deployed a vigorium, ingenuity that would lead him to surpass even the most ambitious dreams of any monarch. During his reign, Alexander not only led, but forged with his own will and determination, an empire that stretched from the rich cities of Greece to the golden sands of Egypt and to the distant lands of India. In just 13 years, his rule had encompassed one of the largest empires the ancient world had ever seen. Alexander's successes were not only the result of his skill in war, but also of his education. He was a student of Aristotle, one of the most respected and admired philosophers of all time. Under the tutelage of Aristotle, Alexander drank from the sources of knowledge in rhetoric, literature, sciences, medicine, Argentina, and of course, philosophy. The teachings of Aristotle left an indelible mark on Alexander, who supposedly carried copies of Homer's epic works, using them as a manual for war and life. Thus, with a sword in one hand and knowledge in the other, Alexander the Great became an eternal symbol of greatness and ambition, demonstrating to humanity what is possible when the indomitable spirit meets opportunity. The great men and women throughout history are not those who back down in the face of the impossible. Alejandro was no exception. Imagine facing a challenge so immense that most people would back away. Now, picture a man who not only faces this challenge, but does so with audacity, ingenuity, and incredible determination. In the year 331 BC, Alexander faced his greatest challenge. The setting, Gaugamela, is a battlefield strategically chosen by Darius, an open plain located in what we now know as Iraq, a place where the numerical superiority of the Persian army, which outnumbered Alexander's by at least 5-1, would be a great advantage. But Alejandro was not an ordinary man, and much less an ordinary leader. Instead of succumbing to fear, Alejandro displayed an impressive tactical game. Faced with a numerical and territorial disadvantage, the idea of a frontal attack seemed suicidal. However, Alejandro, instead of risking a direct attack, devised an ingenious tactic. He positioned his men in an oblique line, in a tactical move to counter their numerical disadvantage, and to deceive the enemy, appearing to concentrate on the right, like a twisted arm ready to strike. The Persians, deceived by this tactic, fell into the trap and rushed to attack the flanks of the formation, leaving their center unprotected. With much of the Persian army distracted on the flanks and the center open, Alejandro, filled with adrenaline and resolve, he charged directly at Darius like a predator going after its vulnerable prey. Alexander's vision, charged with resolve and ferocity, turned out to be so astonishing and violent that Darius III, gripped by terror at the speed and intensity of the Macedonian cavalry, ran away hastily. Seeing their leader in full retreat shattered the morale of the Persian army, who surrendered and left the battlefield. In the midst of this challenging scenario, Alejandro never gave in to fear. His ambition and determination for victory overshadowed any fear, demonstrating that his spirit of conquest always overcame any obstacle. Despite the overwhelming numerical superiority of the enemy, he triumphed thanks to his strategic cunning and his ability to seize opportunities to the fullest. With this victory, he not only secured control of the Persian Empire, one of the largest in the ancient world. Alejandro did not see himself as above those he led, but joined them in the same trenches. He was never the typical leader who dictated orders from a safe throne while his soldiers fought in battle. On the contrary, Alexander positioned himself at the front, sharing risks, defying death, and enduring the tribulations of war beside his men. Once, Diogenes the Cynic and Alexander the Great met face to face. Diogenes was known for his disdain for social norms and material wealth, living in a barrel and giving up all comforts. One day, Alexander approached him. Standing in his sunlight, he asked the philosopher if he could do something for him. Diogenes, without getting up or even looking at Alexander, simply responded, "Yes, you can step aside and stop taking my sunshine away." Alexander, being the most powerful man on the planet at that time, instead of getting angry, admired the audacity and independence of Diogenes. He praised their bravery and walked away, saying, "If I were not Alexander, I would want to be Diogenes." This story teaches us that no matter how powerful you are, true greatness lies in authenticity and independence of thought. Moreover, Alejandro showed a deep interest in the cultural diversity of the territories he conquered. Although he promoted the spread of Hellenistic culture, which combined elements of Greek and Macedonian culture with the local cultures of the Middle East, he didn't try to impose it aggressively. Adopted many aspects of the cultures he encountered along his way, such as Persian and Egyptian customs. This approach resulted in the creation of a hybrid cultural mosaic, which enriched his empire and promoted a fusion of civilizations. However, this process was not without conflicts. His attempts to merge different customs and cultures sometimes met resistance, especially among his Macedonian officers and soldiers, who sometimes felt that Alexander was straying from his roots. Despite these challenges, the legacy of Alexander endures as a testament to the possibilities and inherent tensions in uniting diverse cultures. This is how you'll build your empire. If this content has inspired you, I invite you to show your appreciation by giving us a like. If you think it can inspire others, please share it. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you make sure to be the first to watch our next videos. Together, let's continue this journey of learning and growth.